The knowledge gap theory. What is the knowledge gap theory and why does it exist? The theories argue that knowledge is unequally distributed in the social system, similar to wealth disparities. The three researchers, George A. Donohue, Clarice Olian, and Philip Titchener from the University of Minnesota proposed this theory in 1970. They felt that as the access to mass media increases to particular groups of people in the society, they get information faster, widening the knowledge gap with the individuals of lower economic standing. The theory indicates that there are 5 major reasons why the knowledge gap exists: communication skills, stored information, relevant social context, selective exposure, and media target markets. To give you an example, communication skills. People with more of an education tend to have better communication skills, which allows them a better grasp on the information they receive. And selective exposure is when high-status individuals in society are able to have maximum use of a news medium rather than the lower sector. This allows them to be aware of global issues, whereas lower status individuals aren't as interested because they don't have the same means. We conducted interviews with AUS students and a professor to try and understand their perception of the knowledge gap and what they use mass media for. This is the one with the student.
I think it definitely exists, but the aspects behind the knowledge gap theory do not exist. Specifically, the economic factors do not in this case, but the social factors definitely do. Due to the fact that there are multiple cultures here, this impacts schools in that the public schools would offer different curriculums from, let's say, James Wellington schools where expats go there.
This is the one with the professor.
Well, firstly, I have relatively limited experience in the UAE, so I can only go on my observations to date. The knowledge gap theory, in the sense that different sectors of society have different access to the media and knowledge gained from the media. My assumption is that amongst those who have reasonably good access to the media, I guess the more economically socio-economically privileged sectors of the society, that across expatriate nationals would have access to media pretty readily. I think access to media in this part of the world is exceptionally good, international media. So it comes down to a question of the attitude towards trying to access that media and make use of the knowledge that's available. I guess language might be a bit of a barrier for other people in society that may not be having English or Arabic as a primary language, and probably their access to the media and the knowledge they gain from it will be lower.
This suggests that the knowledge gap is caused by a segment in society which lacks access to news technology of communication. Researchers suggest that individuals who are less educated use whatever access they have to mass media for entertainment rather than news. We interviewed an employee to see if her answers lined up with what the researchers said.
I don't, I used to watch only from my mobile, and just watching movie, that's it.
You just watch from your mobile?
Yeah, and I'm just using some website from, to watch movie, and then that's it.
TV shows?
Yeah, some of the TV shows from my country, from Philippines. That's it, and some movies from YouTube. That's it.
This suggests people of higher status tend to be more motivated in accessing news rather than the lower class. In the UAE, the media landscape has made significant developments so as to keep up with the current global trends in technology. Current legislations have also made it possible to regulate the media and widen its distribution throughout the country. There are several media outlets which include digital, print, and broadcast forms. The United Nations Development Program and Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Foundation indicate that there are 14 newspapers, 8 of which are published in Arabic and 6 are in English. There are also 7 television stations and 6 radio stations and a number of international media organizations such as Reuters, Sony, Fox, and CNN. The important question to ask is, how do we bridge the existing knowledge gap in the UAE? We interviewed a student and as well as a professor for their opinion.
I think there's no specific thing to be done, because I believe the internet and the Web 2.0 is already taking its positive effect. So all it needs is time and patience.
Interesting. I think obviously social media has a very big role to play, particularly with the current younger generation. That's going to be very critical. So the forms of media will need to change and to be made more accessible, and that kind of media is available to all sectors of society, so there tends not to be such a division. And I think continuing to ensure that media is accessible here internationally, as well as locally, of course. So I think on two fronts. One is making social media readily accessible, and all media sources available as well.
As mentioned before, if news is directly impacting someone, all sectors of society are interested, whereas if it doesn't have a direct impact, the lower sectors of the economy aren't as interested as much research suggests. What do we have to support this theory? We carried out a survey which included individuals of high status and low status. The population who had education past high school were considered high status individuals, and those with high school education and who were mostly manual workers represented the low status population. A few questions we asked in the survey were what media they relied on, their interest in news items, how frequently did they access the different kinds of media, and so on. This is what we found. 97% of high educational individuals watched the newscast more than 4 times in a week, while lower status individuals indicated that 37% watched news programs more than 4 times in a week. 87% of them listened to radio more than 4 times in a week, compared to lower status individuals, resulting in 89% listened to the radio more than 4 times in a week. This is what we found. 97% of high educational individuals watched the newscast more than 4 times in a week, while lower status individuals indicated that 37% watched news programs, while 87 of them listened to the radio more than 4 times in a week, compared to 89% lower status individual results. 79% read newspapers or magazines at least once daily, where 3% read newspapers in lower sectors. In regards to news, 99% of the respondents with high socioeconomic status stated that they were highly interested in all news, compared to 34% of lower socioeconomic status who were more interested in local news. Lastly, all respondents with high social status indicated that they accessed the various media outlets for different entertainment purposes, with great emphasis on politics, sports, and business. The respondents with lower socioeconomic status accessed the media mostly for entertainment and sports. What do we think? We found that respondents with low socioeconomic status strongly agreed that distribution of news through local languages increased their access to news. So if more news is in their local languages, they will feel more motivated to watch or listen to the news. Similarly, the study indicated that the low socioeconomic status individuals access the media mostly for sports and entertainment. The media should introduce short programs in between sports and entertainment programs to encourage them to access news items. And lastly, since the people with lower socioeconomic status had higher access to the radio as compared to other forms of media, the media industry should try and introduce more news programs in their radio stations to increase the people's knowledge on information on the media. To conclude, there is an existing knowledge gap in the UAE, and to bridge this gap, the society, the media industry, and policymakers should seek measures that would increase the access and exposure of the low-status individuals to news content. Thank you for your attention.